What's up, everyone? As we enter into the last quarter of 2022, the big question is just how bad will the housing market get? What will happen in 2023? We all know that the housing market has taken a severe downturn, but what exactly is going to happen? Today, we're going to take a look at an article in Fortune magazine by Lance Lambert that's titled, "We're entering the next stage of the housing market downturn, 3 things to expect heading forward." In this article, they go through the 3 elements that will shift as we go into the second stage of the housing market downturn. So let's just dive right in. Back in June, Fed Reserve Chair Jerome Powell was very clear about the housing market going through a reset. We need to get back to a place where supply and demand are back together and where inflation is down low again and mortgage rates are low again, Powell told reporters. Well, we all know what the Fed is doing to fight inflation. They've raised rates consistently, causing buyers to be priced out of the market because they simply can't afford to buy a house anymore. Powell wouldn't commit back then if the rate increases would push the prices lower. Fast forward to September, we all see what's been happening. We all see that prices in many markets, if not all, have started to correct. Some markets faster than others. Lambert writes that as the data moves in from August, we now have clear evidence that the housing market downturn has moved past that first stage, i.e. a sharp drop in housing activity, and into the second stage, i.e. falling home prices. The longer the mortgage rates stay elevated, our view is that housing is going to continue to feel it and have this reset mode. And the affordability reset mechanism right now that has to happen is on home prices. And so there are a lot of markets across the country where we're forecasting that home prices are going to fall into the double digits. Rick Palacios Jr., head of research at Johns Burns Real Estate Consulting, tells Fortune. So let's take a deeper look at the 3 elements that will shift as we enter into the second phase of the downturn of the housing market. The first one is that home price correction is spreading. In this article, they talk about the Burns Home Value Index created by John Burns Real Estate Consulting. The Burns Home Value Index measures home value trends for all homes, new and resale, in 133 markets, allowing them to report and forecast on home price appreciation without the noise of the shifts in home selling, as well as other issues. Among the 148 regional housing markets tracked by John Burns Real Estate Consulting, 98 housing markets have seen home values fall since their 2022 peak. Just 50 markets remain at their peak. In 11 markets, the Burns Home Value Index has dropped by more than 5%. This includes an 8.2% drop in home values in San Francisco. And while it's not unusual for median list prices to drop around this time of year at the late summer, early fall, it is not common for home values or comps to fall just because of seasonality. Simply put, the home price correction is much bigger and more widespread than people originally thought. As I reported in my other videos, Johns Burns Real Estate Consulting isn't the only one who thinks that home prices are going to continue to correct going into 2023. Last week, we talked about Ivy Zelman's forecast that home prices will go down 9% between 2023 and 2024. And Mark Zandi of Moody's Analytics has been consistent in his forecast that prices will continue to correct as much as 5 to 10% in some of the overvalued markets. Moody's has also said that if the recession gets worse, those price drops could actually double. And I do read your comments, and I know a lot of you think that this is definitely going to be worse than 2008, and some of you think it already is. But according to the Case-Shiller Price Home Index, even with Moody's Analytics forecast of possible double-digit price decline, that scenario would still be below the peak to trough U.S. home price decline of 27% between 2006 and 2012. And don't forget, there are some industry insiders who don't think that the price corrections caused by the higher interest rates, which really made housing unaffordable right now, will carry over into 2023. Zillow, CoreLogic, and Redfin, and others still predict some price appreciation in 2023, although very minor and not in all markets. Let's get back to the article and take a look at the second element they say will shift, which is the housing downturn will soon spread beyond housing. Researchers at Goldman Sachs recently released a paper titled "The Housing Downturn Further to Fall." In this paper, Goldman predicts a 22% decline in new home sales before the end of this year, a 17% drop in existing home sales, and 8.9% in the overall housing GDP. GDP. Goldman predicts that these numbers are going to decline even further in 2023, with a 9.2% decrease in the housing GDP for next year. In the lead up to the Great Recession, which started in 2007, housing GDP fell by 7.4% in 2006 and 21.4% in 2007. If Goldman Sachs is right, then not only will the housing market feel the squeeze, but the entire economy, which is not surprising. After all, the whole point of the Fed Reserve raising the interest rates is to slow down inflation and ultimately help the economy. Think about it. If buyer demand slows down, then the builders start to slow down. And then the demand for the things that builders need start to slow down, like appliances, refrigerators, windows, lumber, paint. So in theory, this should help fight inflation. Housing, is not the target, but housing, is essentially the target. Bill McBride, author of the economic blog Calculated Risk, told Fortune earlier this summer. It's worth noting that Goldman Sachs thinks that home prices will be flat in 2023. While outright declines in national home prices are possible and appear quite likely for some regions, large declines seem unlikely, writes Goldman Sachs researchers. If Goldman Sachs' forecast comes to fruition, it'll mean that next year is the bottom of the housing market downturn. In 2024, the investment bank thinks that the housing market will start to rebound. That'll also see, according to Goldman Sachs, home price appreciation to grow to 3.5% in 2024 and 3.8% in 2025. The third element that will cause a shift is sellers are calling a timeout. In the past few months, inventory has increased tremendously, especially in markets like Austin and Boise. But according to Realtor.com, this has started to slow down. Active listings on Realtor.com jumped by 106,900 homes in May. That was followed by 102,900 and 128,200 jumps in June and July. However, that slowed in August to a 31,900 jump. And throughout the rest of the year, Atlas Research predicts that home inventory will continue to fall. So why is home inventory slowing down? Well, there are several reasons. The first is that sellers are realizing that they just may not have those bidding wars that were happening in 2021 and the first half of 2022, so they may not get that crazy escalated price that the others were getting. They also realize they may have to make repairs if buyers do home inspections and start to negotiate home repairs, which may cost them money that they may not have right now. Sellers also don't want to trade in their low interest rate. Remember, a lot of people refinance in the last 2 years. And also, there's simply just not enough inventory for sellers to find a new house that they want to buy. So with all that being said, more sellers are choosing to stay where they are, which causes less inventory to come on the market. Rick Palacio tells Fortune, it's going to be very hard to persuade people to let go of those insanely low rates. While many industry insiders believe that the tight inventory will prevent a housing crash, Palacio says it's just not enough to prevent a housing price correction. And I agree, because we're already seeing it. We all know that prices are correcting. You're just not going to find those same escalated prices that you did the first half of 2022. And that's a good thing. We want a more balanced market. So let's be clear, there is just no overall consensus when it comes to the forecast for the housing market in 2023.
At least we agree on something.
You still have firms like CoreLogic and Redfin and Zillow and Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac that are still predicting home price growth in the coming year. Meanwhile, firms like John Burns Real Estate Consulting, Zonda Capital Economics, Moody's Analytics, and Zelma and Associates all predict falling home prices in the coming year. But what's happening where you live? Comment below, tell us where you live, and tell us what's happening in your market. Because although all these industry insiders go by a lot of different data resources, and I think it's all good information to have, in my opinion, the best information is from people who are actually experiencing what's happening in their market. So tell us, are you seeing price reductions, more inventory come on the market? And when it comes on, are the prices fair, or are they still at those escalated prices from 6 months ago? Definitely let us know, because it really gives us a great sense of what's happening in the housing market by people who are actually going through it. Let's end this video with some of the present data that's provided by Redfin, published on September 16th, 16th, so you can get an idea of where the real estate market is trending and what's happening right now. Home prices fell 1% in August. Home sales fell 2% in August. Time on market rose to 26 days. A record share of homes had price drops, and the average sale to list ratio fell below 100%. All this says to me, and I'm sure you, that the housing market is continuing to correct. The big question is, how much will prices go down? And how long will this continue? And how high will interest rates go up? We saw them go past 6% this week. But here in the DC area, if a house is priced correctly and it's in good condition, we're still seeing multiple offers and prices going above asking. I really want to know what's happening where you live. Do you still see prices escalating on good houses that are priced correctly? Comment below. I hope you got some value out of today's video. It is a lot of work, but I do think it's really important to give you guys the most up-to-date information on the housing market and what industry insiders are predicting for the future, so you can make the best decisions for you and your family. If you'd like to show our channel some support, definitely smash that like button, comment below, and consider subscribing to our channel. It helps us with the YouTube algorithm and motivates us to make more videos. And if you'd like to see some other housing market videos, definitely check out these next two. Thanks for watching. I do appreciate it. Bye!